When people in the future look back on this time, we may be most bitterly remembered for sleepwalking into an age of extinctions, the radical and rapid impoverishment of the sacred tree of life itself. Stephen Meyer, director of the MIT Project on Environmental Politics and Policy, calls this biological cusp the end of the wild. Nature is about to collect on our unimaginable extinction debt that is predicted to take as many as half the Earth's species over the next 100 years. What's needed is a massive, coordinated global effort to preserve wild ecosystems and their functions. We need to understand the relationships among species and how evolution will be altered by the wholesale loss of biodiversity. We simultaneously need to create meta-reserves across regions and countries, both terrestrial and aquatic. Meyer estimates it can be done for $100 billion over the next 10 years, a pittance in the scheme of things. One practical response is the launch of a sustained 20-year global effort to map the Earth's biodiversity. Other living examples of this trend include the huge Crown of the Continent meta-reserve from Yellowstone to Yukon that's engaging US-Canadian cross-border collaboration. Another is the Census of Marine Life, a unique global collaborative effort that has already compiled more than 5 million records in its database, showing the distribution of over 38,000 species, which is less than a fifth of what we now know exists. People of the future will cherish the memory of those who did everything they could to protect and restore the web of life in our time. Slava Trigubovich will be high on that list. He has taken it upon himself to protect some of the most significant and beautiful lands and species on this planet. He has done it with deft organizing, educating, and scientific research. He is also putting his body on the line. Slava's mission is to preserve the sacred lands, animals, and wilderness areas protected under Russia's outstanding but highly threatened nature reserve system. Russia has a unique wilderness system called zapovedniks, created almost a century ago. As the strictest scientific nature reserve system on Earth, these 100 zapovedniks are off limits to all forms of economic and recreational use. Ranging in size from several thousand to several million acres, they are home to 80% of Russia's biodiversity. But since the demise of the Soviet Union, state funding for nature reserves has been slashed by 90%. This has triggered an onslaught of poaching, logging, and other invasive practices. Reduced government support and intense economic pressures now threaten this entire uniquely important system. Slava is the director of one of Russia's most diverse protected nature reserves in the heart of southern Siberia. He has earned the respect and trust of government officials, scientists, remote villagers, and indigenous people. A native of Siberia with a master's degree in biology, Slava is one of Russia's most dedicated and effective anti-poaching rangers and wilderness protection advocates. Slava's scientific education and his appreciation of nature began when he accompanied his father, a geophysicist, and his grandfather, a geologist, on government prospecting trips to the polar regions. Later, he launched his parallel careers as a conservation activist and anti-poaching ranger in Siberia's Altai Mountains, where he eventually became director of the Altaisky Zapovednik. In addition to training anti-poaching rangers and young leaders and organizing educational programs for communities, Slava has led the drive to establish a new protected area called Sylugemsky, to conserve the last main breeding ground of the Russian snow leopard. This new area is at the southern edge of Siberia's Altai Republic, where a 30-mile-long frontier divides Russia from China, with Mongolia to the east and Kazakhstan to the west. The 4 nations it ties together have expressed their support for the creation of a transboundary biosphere reserve. This would link with other nature reserves in the mountains to create a connected network of protected areas for endangered species that include the snow leopard and the Altaian Argali sheep. It's truly a great honor to welcome one of the planet's great defenders of the web of life, Slava Trigubovich.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to sincerely thank Nina and Kenny for this and their team for this great opportunity to be here, and you, audience, to be here and listen to us. And it's such a great opportunity and honor to be one of the speakers today and the Bioneers. First of all, in the beginning, I would like to introduce you our DVD, which is a result of our work we've done in Russia, and after that, I'll continue our conversation.
Russia is the largest country on Earth, encompassing 1/4 of our global forests, 80% of the fresh water in the world, and more than 100 endangered and vulnerable species. These resources make Russia critically important to our global environment. Over the past 90 years, Russians have preserved and protected more ecosystems than any other country in the world. The Russians have a unique system of scientific nature reserves. They're known as zapovedniks. These are not the paper parks of Latin America or Africa, nor are they like U.S. national parks, jammed with campers and buses and all-terrain vehicles. And they are not flawed compromises like our dual-purpose nature reserves or wilderness areas that are open to visitors, hunting, and logging. Instead, the design of each Russian zapovednik seeks to protect and shelter an entire sustainable ecosystem, forever pristine and untouched, with no humans allowed, except scientists and anti-poaching patrols. The 100 zapovedniks that exist today contain 80% of Russia's biodiversity on some 83 million acres. An area the size of the United Kingdom and Ireland combined. Unfortunately, since the fall of the Soviet Union, the Russian government has dramatically reduced its commitment to the zapovednik system. The government has cut budgets for zapovedniks by 90%, eliminating thousands of jobs of researchers and nature wardens. With less protection, the land is open to more and more people who are driven by motives ranging from greed to sheer survival in a shaky economy, to trespass, to poach, to erode almost a century of preservation effort. Some zapovedniks have generated new income by opening the reserves to limited, or not so limited, uses such as tourism and logging, which destroy the fundamental purpose of zapovedniks. Developers and industries are also pushing hard to exploit protected areas. Mining and timber extraction are uncontrolled in some regions, and proposed natural gas and oil pipelines to Asian markets could be devastating to nature reserves. There are other pressures as well. Smugglers pay high prices for illegal animal parts used in traditional Chinese medicine. Tourists and adventurers despoil virgin territory. Sports hunters pay richly to hunt endangered species. And Russia's new billionaires grab unspoiled lands for new vacation homes. Despite these mounting pressures, the zapovednik system remains largely intact, and committed individuals are working to protect these areas for our future. One of these is Slava Trigubovich, a zapovednik ranger and conservation biologist. Since 1993, Slava has worked both within the nature reserve system and as a leader in non-governmental environmental organizations. Over the years, Slava has inspired tremendous respect and trust among Russian government officials, scientists, remote villagers, and environmental leaders. In 2002, Slava traveled to the United States to raise money to support the zapovednik system and to protect the endangered snow leopard. That visit led U.S. supporters to found the Altai Conservancy to work with its Russian partner, the Altai Foundation, in the effort to strengthen conservation in the world's largest country. At home, as director of the Altaisky Zapovednik, Slava battles almost daily to keep the 2.2 million acre preserve intact. Today, he and others like him stand dangerously between a variety of very powerful individuals and the millions of dollars they hope to extract from the zapovedniks.
Why we are doing this? I think the answer would be because I personally do not see no any other ways except education, except straight environment protection. Because I would like to have for my children and for my grandchildren and for next generations as a place on this planet. Because I love this planet. It's our planet, it's our home. And I would like to have the future for this planet.
The Altai Foundation's first priority is to preserve and strengthen zapovedniks in the Altai Republic and all of Russia. In an effort to offset reduced government spending, the Altai Foundation now runs anti-poaching patrols that discourage illegal use of the land as they collect scientific data, dismantle snares and traps, seize weapons, and arrest poachers. The Foundation trains zapovednik staff and volunteers. We develop and promote public education programs about the importance of zapovedniks and nature conservation, and we advocate for increased government and private support for the zapovednik system. The Foundation also sponsors scientific studies and research in the protected areas, including species surveys, resource mapping, and monitoring external pollution. The traditional ways of life of native peoples and other neighbors are closely entwined with the ecological health of Russia. The Altai Foundation works with local people to help preserve their cultural values and traditions while developing economic activities that are compatible with protecting natural resources. Finally, we work to create more protected areas where they are needed. The Altai Foundation has almost completed a 5-year effort to propose a new zapovednik in the Altai Republic at the junction of Russia, China, Mongolia, and Kazakhstan. This new zapovednik will protect the last breeding area for snow leopards in Russia and will safeguard an important migration corridor for the argali and other wild sheep and goats. The The work of the Altai Foundation is supported from the U.S. by the Altai Conservancy, which is incorporated in Vermont as a 501c3 charitable organization. As such, the Altai Conservancy undertakes public education and fundraising as a means of expanding American support for the Russian ecosystems that contribute to planetary health. Over the past 3 years, the Altai Conservancy has sent more than $650,000 to Russia in support of these goals. Although American parks and wilderness systems are strongly supported by private donations and charitable organizations, in Russia, this level of support does not yet exist. Not only are there fewer people in Russia with the means to donate, but there are obstacles to private philanthropy as well, including a tax on the donor for his gift. Both American and Russian environmentalists understand the importance of a healthy environment and the interdependence of ecologies across borders. We Americans have the necessary wealth and management skills to help in Russia. Our Russian counterparts have a deep-seated reverence for the land and a magnificent system of protected areas like no other on Earth. Working together, we have the opportunity to make a substantial contribution to the health of our planet. Thank you.
As you've seen, it's not all DVD. It's a little bit more than that. But thank you again for coming here. And my message, I came from Russia with. It's a message to you about how important and beautiful the zapovednik system in Russia is, and how important for all of us to save this system is also. And in the beginning of my speech, I would thanks also my friends who helped me to come here, and my friends who helped me to write speech. Actually, because my English is a little bit different to your English, and I hope you don't mind if I'll read some sentences on the paper. Okay. So in the beginning, in our discussion. Okay, let's start. In our discussion about environment protection, politics play a significant role. But today I would like to show you through simple examples what an impact of individuals, initiative and sincere efforts can make when they are driven by the desire to protect our common home, our common environment, for the sake of the future. All of us acting together can make a political difference. And through simple examples, I would like to show you this. Why there would be the question why I personally do this. In my youth and adolescent years, I spent a lot of time in outdoors. I was born in Siberia. I was lucky one. I was born in Siberia where almost nobody live, and as you know, Siberia it's not just a prison. It's a very, very beautiful place. I know it's very common in this country. Like a lot of people think Siberia it's a prison. It's not prison. It's the most significant place on the earth. After high school, I joined an exploratory expedition to the north of Siberia in Russia. This forever transformed my life. Unfortunately, quite often, where we find a man, we also find a great strategy for other alive things, for the nature. Observing the predatory actions of many companies destroying the natural resources under cover of the slogan, all the for good of man, left me with a desire to find that golden mean where man can coexist with the nature without harming, but rather harmoniously fulfilling each other. Finally, I decided to dedicate my life to the preservation of the nature. Excuse me. So, for English. I believe that working with the living nature around us is my personal believing. I believe that working with the nature around us brings one closer to accomplishing the mission we were given up the birth, to begin to recognize the goal and the creator. Okay, here the first, I would like to show you the map. What's the, okay, no, this one. Okay, Altai Mountains, where I was born nearby. It's located in the middle of Eurasia. Actually, it's the most driest place in the world. You can see this place has the longest distance to the nearest, to any near ocean in the world. But anyhow, a few pictures to give you a sense how Siberia looks like. It's the coast of the lake, Teletsky Lake, which locates in Altai Mountains. It's one of the most beautiful lakes in Russia, and it contains over 40 cubic kilometers, which contains fresh water, drinkable water. And if you'll split this water for anybody in the world, everybody will take over a few tons of fresh water. Just to imagine how it is. Okay, it's a Teletsky Lake also. Recognizing Altai Mountains also, Siberia. And a lot of individuals, I would say that a lot of individuals in Russia, they're really committed to nature conservation and have a deep respect to the land. And some of us, during this time, became to understand how important it is to save the nature. And I would like to tell you a brief story about this person. His name is Vladimir Yunteyev. He's one of our best known anti-poachers in the region in Altai right now. Recognizing, born in one of the outlying hamlets of Altai, Vladimir Yunteyev spent his youth in the great outdoors. As many other Telengits, one of the Altaic tribes, he lived as one with the nature and rose to its defense when he saw the predatory efforts of others attempting to wrest profit from despoiling it. Thus, it was that Vladimir and others such as he rose to defend the habitat of the snow leopards in what turned out to be one of its most precious areas. Removing and destroying hundreds of traps and snares, day in and day out, year after year, he and his co-workers are saving the lives of animals whose rightful place is not to be with us, and not to be in some trophy case. I first met Vladimir in March of 1999, when he took me on one of the expeditions to the basin of Argut River. It's a river in Altai Mountains. And in the very heart of the mountains where the snow leopards live, in the Salugemsky area. Since then, we became friends and co-workers to protect that land. That year, we found the tracks of only four snow leopards in that area, only 4 tracks in 1999. And during the years, when Vladimir spent a lot of time, and his co-workers spent a lot of time to protect that land, finally in 2004, in an expedition, we founded 13 snow leopard tracks in the same area, which shows us a very simple example how the few people can make a big difference. It's well known that snow leopards do not like to be seen by man, so their presence was proven only by their tracks. And thus, and continued for years until suddenly, on his birthday in March of 2003, a snow leopard leaped into view right before him. The meeting only lasted a couple of minutes. What can you imagine? What could be more magnificent than that? It was, and after that, this guy, he's a really strong man, and he just cried when he told the story. So, and he is deeply, and right now he is deeply committed to what he does, and he will do this forever, I believe. I know that. Vladimir and his team continues to defend the snow leopard's habitats in Altai today as rangers of the Altaisky zapovednik. There is another story I would like to share with you also. More recently, I was on patrol with the Yunteev's team in Altaisky zapovednik. It's generally the same area, Altai Mountains, where we caught 8 people coming out of protected area. All of them were local officials, including the police chief. All of both sides were armed. It was at night on the top of mountain at the edge of the zapovednik. They had with them illegal fish. They were very angry about being stopped. And after we have told them who we are, we had some difficult negotiations. And finally, they named themselves in front of our camera. And we have promised, if they would respect the zapovednik and speak well of us, the video would not be shown to anybody. And they would keep their jobs. It's another way how we make friends. So, of course, the fish were confiscated and were given to the local school to feed children. But okay, it's two nice stories. But obviously, we'll do. I would like to share with you some more serious stuff. Anti-poaching work is an essential first step in protecting these areas, but there are three other very important ingredients on the long-term nature conservation: as a scientific research, ecological education, and sustainable business for locals. The first is scientific research. For the creation, should be. It's our people. You can see some of them are really tough people. So it's Siberia is a remote place, and the first is scientific research expedition. And for the creation of Salugemsky zapovednik, also for monitoring of the existing Altaisky and other like this, we need to know what we are protecting. For example, here you can see the picture of how remote place it is, and you can understand that nature sometimes protects snow leopards and other creatures even better than people do. And sometimes it's really difficult to come in even to these areas. Secondly, here is a helicopter. You can see it's sometimes and very often it's only way to come to some areas, which is really great. I like that at all. And we can see remote places also from another helicopter. Secondly, the educational projects have always been a part of our work. Since mid-90s, we have organized nine 1-month-long summer trainings in the field for the college students from all the Russia, who are the future guardians of these pristine areas. And the trainings include anti-poaching, low-impact camping, survival, and other related skills. Here it's actually a few pictures. It's everything goes along our anti-poaching work. It's our patrolling cars, and also horses, who are big helpers during winter and during our anti-poaching expeditions. We also have been doing projects in local schools as well as summer camps for children, where they are learned about nature. The children come from various areas, from different cultures, and they learn about each other. One project produced an art show which was shown in the capital of Siberia, in Novosibirsk. And here's a few points, a few pictures about anti-poaching. It's all this equipment was confiscated by poachers. Unfortunately, some local people became threatened by not sustainable economy in the region, and some of them became poachers. And in this case, what we do with them usually, we just arrest them and take equipment away and let them go. We not charge them. We don't do anything bad for them. So, but it's absolutely different situation if you catch really wealthy guys. And you understand why. But you saw these pictures in movie. But actually here you can see the part of dead mountain sheep which live in Altai Mountains. It's the biggest mountain sheep in the world. Only a few thousand of them are left in the world, including Altai and including Mongolia. And of course they are endangered. Biggest mountain sheep in the world. Most of them are over 250 kilograms. It's above 450 pounds. So here you can see our scientific research, and actually all these skins and parts of animals were confiscated by us during scientific research, and so it's illegal to have them. You see, unfortunately, it's coming. The third, And we're coming to the third major ingredient of sustainability is a stable local economy. Ecotourism is everyone's first suggestion for remote places like Altai. But what is the difference between ecotourism and taking tourists into wild areas, having a good time, and taking home fond memories? And it's our scientific also, it's our expeditions, you can see. What's the difference? And we believe that kind of tourism that is damaging the nature. I mean, ecotourism, which the way how done right now. We believe that ecotourism should include the substantial educational ingredient. And also, we know that zapovednik areas cannot be involved in these activities at all, but ecotourism can be in the vicinity of the zapovednik, And an important part of economical stability is involving the local people, not just outsiders. Everything I'm talking about is about ecotourism in zapovednik areas. It's very common right now in Russia, and for some companies in Russia who really have deep desire to open zapovedniks for ecotourism. And I would like to educate you about that. We don't want this in zapovedniks. Please know this. Okay, and there are some other pictures about our field research. Actually, it's all together, anti-poaching, and at the same time it's scientific. To finish with, I would like to, if you would ask me, I have a lot of more things to tell. Unfortunately, the time is limited. But if you would ask me, do you have a hope that your work in the zapovednik areas can be done, even when there are so many obstacles, including the lack of money and high pressure from the people willing to make money from logging, hunting, tourism, and other kind of resource extraction? I would say yes. And there are a few good examples. And one of them, recently, I had a conversation with, as a government employee, I had a conversation with a top person, one of the top persons, the Ministry of Natural Resources, about planning to create new zapovedniks in near future in Russia. And they say that in coming years, 2006 and 2007, Russian government plans to create new zapovedniks, including Altai Republic. And also, Russian government is going, in present time, is going to expand its support for the zapovednik system, which is really great. So. And thank you so much again, and I have a lot of things to talk more, and welcome to a workshop we will give today afternoon. Thank you so much for coming and being here.